we're very much aware that it is half term, and it's great to see everyone here for today's report out. And one of our speakers is on their way, but there is contingency, of course. So I'm delighted today to welcome our value stream 4, RPIW2 ophthalmology patient check-in, 30-day update, and hand over to the team, and please feel free to introduce yourself as you talk. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Judy Ellison and I'm the Assistant Patient Services Coordinator for Outpatients at St James's, and I'm one of the process owners of this work within ophthalmology. I'm going to talk to you about our overview for our project form theme. We had a significant volume of patients waiting to check in for their appointment at once. 2 different check-in options were available. We had the self-checking kiosk and we also had main reception. What we realised was we were batching patients into separate queues, and also we realised there were poor signage in the area and also outside the area when we were walking in. The self-checking kiosk also was not allowing patients to successfully check in. We did a lead time for different check-in methods, and our baseline for self-checking kiosk was 380 seconds, and our 30-day remeasure was 75 seconds. This gave us an 80.3% improvement. How did we improve? Well, we removed the barrier to allow patients to check in as soon as they arrived, and we changed the wording of patient letters to encourage self-checking. We received direct support from the In Touch With Health team, and we changed the check-in requirement to include the postcode to reduce the number of failed check-ins due to the date of birth errors. Apparently, other areas and other hospitals already do this, and it's really effective, and we've now put this in place, and it should be in all kiosks. Our quality defects. The number of times a patient was redirected from main clinic reception to eye casualty reception, our baseline figure was 9.4%. Our 30-day remeasure was 0, which is 100% improvement. How did we improve? Well, we redesigned the process. We stopped batching the patients into different queues. We trained 5 out of 6 receptionists since that week, and 82% of staff can now multitask on both main reception and eye casualty. The results of our process redesign: our baseline for main reception check-in was 136 seconds, our 30-day remeasure was 123 seconds, which is 9.6 improvement. However, the main area where we needed to focus was the baseline for eye casualty reception check-in. It was 253 seconds, and our 30-day remeasure was 165 seconds, which gives us 34.8% improvement. And I'm going to hand over to Tim, who's going to discuss the newspaper for flowchart.
So my apologies, my colleague Simon Dewsbury was going to be talking about this. So my name is Tim Hunter, I'm Head of Optometry Services. One of the things that we recognise within the eye department is it's very busy, and a lot of the time the patients don't actually know what's going on and why they're waiting. So one of the things we've been very keen to do is steal other people's ideas about using process boards so that they can follow what's going on. We've done about 3 or 4 iterations of this, and this is our latest one, just very simply to show patients that they are in a flow and that they are moving through the clinic. And I suspect that we'll be doing some further iterations before we eventually spend some money on it. But at the moment we've got 2 of these large that we put together from A4 sheets up on the wall, and we're hoping to get feedback from patients. I think they literally just went up either today or yesterday, and we're going to obviously try and get some feedback from patients and see how they feel about it. But we find that one of our big problems is patients getting very anxious about where they are, and we're hoping this will help. And signage, we have definitely identified an issue with patients essentially struggling to find their way to the eye department. Although there are signs saying eye clinic as you come into Chancellor Wing, they are, to be honest, lost in the general bustle of all the other signage because that white print on blue background, which looks very nice, but patients can't always see it. So we actually put up lots of signage which was much more linked in with the RNIB and partially sighted recommendations, which is yellow background with black print, and we also included a little eye image on it to make it really clear for people who couldn't necessarily read the signage. And we had some really positive feedback from one patient who said, you know, although he couldn't actually read the letters, he could see the eye, and that allowed him to find his way into the department. So I've been having some discussions with the estates team about whether or not we could actually formally replace the existing signage with new yellow on black signage. And at the moment we're waiting for that painful process of telling how much it's going to cost.
Now we're going to hand over to Chris, who's going to discuss the 5 S's of reception desk, which is the remaining work of the newspaper we have.
I apologise for the cold, I'm full of cold today. I'm working with the reception team at the moment to try and create a document so that everybody can work and follow one rule known as the 5S agreement. What we've started with is the reg tag sale, and believe it or not, we've already had the porters down taking things away just on one visit. We're still continuing it and changing things around, so it's not completed yet because some people agree, some people don't agree, so we're trying to come to a happy medium with it all. We're working to create the standard process, the description and the processes in the department, so that when a new starter comes in or somebody that's not confident, they can look and see what, you know, guides to follow. And we're still updating the reception scripts to encourage patients, but overall I'm still working with the team because it's quite a large thing when you're changing the way they work.
Our barriers and key learning. We felt there was a rapid nature of the change and there was little opportunity to discuss with staff. This did cause upset within the week, within the team, which is understandable. The nursing team was not involved in the RPIW week, but we felt their contributions were really necessary. For instance, we came to the clinic that week and we had to move chairs around while the patients were in the area. It was really busy. We put a flow chart up, but the nurses didn't have enough input beforehand. So thinking back, we would have liked them in that week. The In Touch with Health have been invaluable with knowledge, and we now have contacts supporting us with this work. They've been brilliant. They came from Birmingham and they spent time with me and Kirsty for a full day. We went down to clinic and we looked at the check-in, and just the postcode alone has helped. We also found out by looking with them at the computer behind the desk where the receptionist sits. They normally check in a patient, and that was taking about 4 seconds on the system, and it was slow because it needed to be updated properly, and we didn't know there was another function to update it, so now all the receptionists know on this side, so that's going to speed that process up. And I just want to say I'm really proud of what we've done in 30 days, and I'm looking forward to doing more improvements and seeing you all next time at the 60-day report out, so thank you. Any questions?
Just want to review what you
Yes.
said.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Tim very ably went through some of your bits, but you might want to add to that.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, sorry for being late. Yeah, so I was mainly looking at the patient flow chart, which I won't go over again, which Tim's outlined it, but this is the sort of example of it that we have. And I've got some patient feedback of it from clinic, which does suggest quite a positive look on it really. The flow charts that we'd observed, you know, the units, which we thought worked well, had a sort of linear bubble box approach to giving you a progress through the department. This is quite different, it's more complex because it's a top-down sort of actual layout of the department. So there's a problem with that the patients might struggle to get their heads around it all in the time that they've got to look at it. But I don't think we've had that with the patient feedback that I've had so far. One drawback has been just the size of the post that we've produced as a draft. We had to tile together A4 bits of paper from the printer, and you can't appreciate how many of those you actually need to get a big poster. So I think this is a first draft, and we'd like to do, as the next stage, just a larger version, and just tidy up some of the fonts to make it clearer as it comes out on the poster.
Fantastic. Okay, well done, Tim. So, I mean, what's fantastic about this piece of work, it really shows what can be done in such a short period of time, and the changes in some of those percentages that you shared with us is amazing, actually. You know, it's not just a few percent, it's significant, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's open it up for questions from the floor.
Can I, excuse me, I've got some throat today. Please, can I just ask you to clarify how the postcode element of the check-in improved it to such an extent? I don't really understand.
They said that when you were just putting the date of birth in, it wasn't pulling it through properly. So when you put the postcode in as well, say like if you were on the same street, there could be a few people with similar things, but when you put the postcode in, it made it a lot better and it directed it quicker. So they said they do that in lots of other hospitals, and
so
it's
they're
more
speeding
efficient.
the system up by giving it more.
Yeah, giving it more, yeah.
I see, right.
And I understand that when you're an eye patient, it's another step. But we're also, what I didn't mention, sorry, is we're going to be interviewing on the 7th of November for a volunteer for the eye clinic. So somebody will be there all the time, focusing on their needs, because these are eye patients that struggle anyway, and even though there is signs that are bolder on that screen, it's still going to be better for them when they have somebody there, so that's really positive. So.
It was just an observation. I think the tangible benefits that you've seen in 30 days is amazing, and I think probably one of the most successful that we've seen so far, I think, at 30 days. And it's just that time that you've saved, that's time that patients are saving, obviously. I just wonder in terms of it, putting your mind to if you're saving time for staff on the reception desk from not having to check those, are you beginning to think about what other things could those reception staff be doing?
Absolutely, yes we are. There's lots of cash up to be done, which is when a patient comes back with a sheet and it goes into a pile on that desk, and it seems like it's never ending. That will always be a job to do, and that can only benefit our patients because they do wait for the call for the booking, they do wait for a call when they're going to be booked next from a waiting list, so that will really help. So that will utilise it that way.
Could I ask about the check-in process itself, because the patient group that come to your clinic, there's a lot of maturity in that clinic often. What are their preferences about wanting to speak with individuals as opposed to using technology? And have you had any other feedback with regards to that?
I think it varies enormously. I think that classic silver surface kind of where you've got patients, and this was before we amended the self-checking, you had patients who were very keen to try and do it, but it wasn't technically very functional. It was bouncing people out because they could only check in a certain period before their appointment time.
45 minutes.
And many of our patients turn up ridiculously early before their appointments, and now we've amended that so they don't get bounced out.
Yeah, we've amended it to 2 hours, so we've extended that time frame for 2 hours. What they used to do was they'd come and try and check in, and the system would block them out at 45 if they were past 45 minutes, so they'd queue up to the desk. A big queue would form on top of the normal with the bookings, so we've extended that to 2 hours, which lets our patients come through quicker, straight through without going to reception, but also we've put something on self-checking that says, we know you're here early, but you won't be seen before 30 minutes, and it gives them the option then to go for a drink. So we've also put that on there, and we only found out we could do that with InTouch, so it's positive.
I spent a week down in clinic on the self-checking randomly, and we highlighted everything that were wrong with it, and then obviously it's been corrected now, but we weren't aware there were so many problems. Obviously the postcode being the big thing, the big change.
And we're still working with them, so it can only get
I
better.
documented we got a big red cross on quite a lot of patients, which you can imagine frustrating, and a lot didn't want to use it because of that, but now it's obviously working, it's showing.
From observations as well, we found I had a patient that checked in on self-checking as I was observing, and then came up to me and said, I'm not sure it's checked through, and was going to the desk again, and I said, no, let's go back. And I went back, and it's that encouragement, but if we have somebody down there with them, encourage a volunteer, it's only going to get even better anyway. So.
And is there a thought about the success that you've had and the changes that you've made with the check-in and how they could be replicated or discussed and understood with other check-in services that we have in the organisation who might be finding the same issues perhaps but not aware of some of the constraints that they've got themselves? Is it something that
It can be shared, yeah.
others can learn from and the process for doing that really?
Yeah, the postcode's definitely gone throughout now. Yeah, we sort of went with it, and like it can only improve. So, and a lot of people may not notice straight away, but it's another update that's going to help. So, fingers crossed.
I'm interested with your point You could go on forever, couldn't you? Questions. It's really an exciting RPIW. You mentioned at the very early part of your presentation the fact of that the nursing staff weren't part of this RPIW, and I did clock one or two of our ophthalmology nurses in the audience. Are you still here? You're hiding back there. I was just wondering around whether the awareness you've had of this and any changes that you felt as well from your perspective in the clinic.
Well, as Trudy has said, it's all really quick because we've done a value stream as well, and everything's really quick. You don't have time to have that discussion with people because you're in there and you're doing it, trying to explain as you're going along. But once they'd gone back upstairs, then I had a look at what they'd done, and even at that point where they got the arrows and the zones, then we were using it, then the patient started using it. Oh yes, I'll go and take a seat in the blue zone system. So, really good.
I think the one thing I feed back that we learned is that we probably didn't know enough about the RPIW process when we came into it. And I think if we'd had a little bit more information beforehand, we could probably have pre-warned the staff who were going to be most affected, like the reception staff and the nursing team, that we're going to be doing all these, quick and dirty things and trying them out, and it just wouldn't stop. And I think that might have helped a little bit on that week, because to be fair, it was very rapid.
Very challenging.
It was challenging, yeah. And change is challenging.
Change is scary for people, so because it was so fast of a change. That's what the challenging thing was in that week.
And lots of meetings.
Oh yeah, lots.
I mean, that's really helpful feedback though, because when we're moving into other new RPIWs, we're continually learning the whole time of perhaps better communication. Can we do it slightly differently? Can we give people a little bit more awareness about what to expect during that time? And maybe those that have been through it, even getting them to be involved in new RPIWs to explain to colleagues what their experiences were, to give that oversight.
I know you have an agenda for that week that you follow, and it's quite strict. And I think there should be like a block in that every day to speak to that team, just so you can go. I know it's going to be fast, but go over and just really speak to them. And I think that's just a good idea in itself. But I think that would help going forward.
And I think I can second that, because I know when I presented I said I didn't realise just how rapid was. And it's really a big shock to you. I felt like I was going up to my wards and running and saying something and then running away again. So there is something that I think the more people that do it, the more as an organisation will learn, because it's the best way to do it eventually, but while you're in it, it's quite, you sort of feel you're losing it, let alone people that you're working with. But I think the more we make it widely known, the more people are going to get used to it and it'll get better naturally.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Any other questions? No? Well, congratulations and well done once again. Appreciate it. Karen, did you want to? Is there anyone that would prefer not to have a picture? Would you mind if we do a picture? A bit of celebration, why not?